Okay, y'all, I am back and here to talk about my year in Houston. If y'all don't know, I'm the multifaceted mom, aka Lataya, and I just need y'all to forgive me because I am definitely like a few months late on my year update. No, I have not moved back to Michigan. I am still in Houston, loving it. And I just want to give y'all like an update of what's been happening because it's been pretty much all good things. Do not get me wrong. Your girl has been struggling. Your girl has gone through the motions. But I really want to just talk about just like a casual conversation on how it's been living in Houston for me. So if you don't know, I did move to Houston, or people like to, ruffle people feathers be a little ruffled in the comments, and they like to tell me that I don't live in Houston, I live in Katy. But in my opinion, it's all Houston. Okay. Anyway, so I moved to Houston in September of last year as a single mom of two girls, of two toddlers, and I actually moved like on a faith move. I've moved without a job. I had just got laid off in June, and then I moved in September. But I had already planned on moving like in April, so I had already really been like searching. I knew what apartment I was gonna stay in, everything like that. And if you really want more details, I have a whole playlist on my move to Houston, and I had a playlist or just different videos on me packing, me showing me apartment hunting, me showing me visiting Houston, and also like a 6-month update on me in Houston. I think it was like a whole hour video about being in Houston and how I did it with 2 kids alone by myself. And it's so crazy because I really just be doing stuff, y'all, and really do not be just thinking I can't do anything. Like when I set my mind to something, I get it done. But anyway, I did a little outline so I can like really go through this video and just try to hit on every single thing. So I did move to Houston without a job, and I did not end up actually getting a job until June. So the way I had money coming in, for one, I did have money saved up, not to move to Houston. I was just a saver. And luckily that worked in my favor when I got laid off because that's what I lived off of. For the last year, I've pretty much lived off of savings, lived off of tax refunds. I've managed my money. I've also was a virtual assistant. I had a virtual assistant business, and I was able to bring in enough money to pay my rent and really just like get me through, right? So those are some of the things that I did to kind of survive. But I didn't want to focus this video on that part of it because I do have a video that's coming just about if you want to move to a different state in 2025. I want to focus on like just how my life has been going, right? So in 2024 in June, I end up getting a job. I actually got it in like late April, and I started in June. And it was actually with a mental health facility. And I was so excited, y'all, because of course I'm trying to get into mental health. And unfortunately, that job did not work out because what I'm noticing here in Houston is that people do be finessing a little bit. Like, this is probably the second job that I've been like deceived on, and it's like big corporations. It's not like one of them was like the University of Texas, and the second one was a mental health agency that's actually very well known here. So I'm gonna just say that caveat, but I end up quitting within like 2 to 3 weeks. But I did get like 2 checks, right? So I got 2 checks that actually kind of lasted me until like the next month until I was getting paid. But around August, I started to all of a sudden lose clients. It really got financially tight, like very, very, very tight. And now, mind you, I'm also in grad school at this time to become a therapist. So my thing is like, I don't think that God brought me here to send me back to Michigan. However, one of the things that ended up happening around that time was me surrendering my pride, me surrendering how it would look if I did need to move back home after my lease was up in September. And I also surrendered my pride in terms of feeling like I needed to get a certain type of job in order to make it in Houston. And I just felt like when things were getting so tight to where I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent, I started asking friends for money, like to borrow money, which I never did, okay, ever. When things started really getting tight for me, I had a thought and said, Taya, did you try hard enough? Did you try hard enough to make it by yourself? Or are you still trying to stay within your comfort zone? Now, this was a question I had to ask myself because, for one, I was so used to 9-to-5 corporate girly world that's all I wanted to focus on was getting into corporate. Because I felt like it was the most convenient. I felt like it was it was the best option. However, I think I got to a point where I had a conversation with my mom, and she was like, I'm telling her how I'm going to start, doing DoorDash because I feel like I haven't tried enough. And she was like, DoorDash, you just really need to think about coming home. And I told her, like, I don't think God brought me here the way he brought me here. The favor that I've had since I've got here, I don't think he brought me here in order to bring me back. Like, I feel like I'm just now touching the surface. I'm about to graduate. All I gotta do is take my test, and then I could get hired into a private practice or a community health to be a therapist and be on my feet within 2 months. But moving back to Michigan just did not feel like the answer to me. And I know a lot of people, talk about using logic, but for me, I'm a very spiritual person. So in this channel, I talk a lot about God, and I talk about a lot about faith. So if you are within, the Christian community, or you believe in God and faith, this is a channel for you. If not, you're not going to understand that feeling or that deep feeling that you just feel like, I don't think that that's the move, or I do feel like I need to move this way, or even just like an internal shift. And I did not, when I want to do something, when I feel like God is calling me to do something, it's a internal shift in my body that I cannot ignore. When it came to moving back to Michigan, I couldn't see it. I couldn't envision it. I couldn't feel it in my body. I was just thinking, like, I do not think that I have tried hard enough to make it here. And that was something I had to surrender. So what I actually started doing the night that I had the conversation with my mom was I started to write down different places that I could work. I started to say, okay, I've worked at Panera Bread. I've worked at Old Navy. I can work at a bookstore. I can work, like, what jobs can I work that I can start from ground zero and make it up? Like, what can I do? And this is coming from somebody who was used to making like 70K, like, or actually like 70, 80K. Like, I was used to that salary. So I was taking a huge pay cut, for one, and also just like a huge shot to my ego, because I'm like, I went to school and I did everything right just to end up here, and then now I'm in grad school, I'm about to graduate, and I'm still ending up here. I really felt like I was humble in that moment, but I also had this drive inside of me that was like, you have a chance to start from the bottom up, and it's nothing but going up from here. So I started applying for Starbucks. I actually made a different resume because I could not put that I graduated school. I could not put that I've been in corporate. I had to pretty much finesse, and I put Old Navy. I put Old Navy, Panera, all of my jobs that I had worked before that was in customer service. I put it all on my resume. And I did it to where, even though I worked those jobs when I was like 16, 18, in my like early 20s, I did it to where I worked recently because that was the only way that I was going to be able to get noticed. And if you don't know, I am a person that can get a job very easily. So this job market is extremely tough that I had to navigate. So I had about 4 different resumes, and one of them was that resume. So I had a resume to apply for customer service jobs, for Old Navy, things like that, for retail jobs. And then I had a resume to apply for corporate jobs and marketing jobs. I also really continue to work on my resume, and I think that actually made a huge difference. And I kid you not, y'all, I had this conversation with my mom on Sunday night. On Monday, after I worked out, I went to a Starbucks and I worked on all of my resumes. On Tuesday, this is like end of August. On Tuesday, I worked on all of my I worked on all of my resumes on Monday. On Tuesday, I applied to like 50 to 60 jobs. That included customer service. It included marketing, which I was already in. I had a nonprofit mental health resume. I had a marketing resume. I had a sales executive resume. Like, I had a resume for every single job that I could do. And I applied for so many jobs. And mind you, this was nothing that I hadn't done before. Besides applying for Starbucks, like, if I take that out, I've applied to multiple corporate jobs before. And I was not getting any callbacks. This is how I know it was God. Because let me backtrack. After I had this conversation with my mom, and I'm getting emotional, I felt so angry with her, even though I knew she was coming from a good place. But she instilled so much fear in me. A person that moved out of state by herself with 2 kids, that was fearless, that was doing it on faith, that was killing the game and figuring out a way to make something shake. She instilled so much fear in me that I started to really, I had to take a break from all social media that night. I had to really get in my Bible and go in Matthew and look at Matthew was actually a chapter that I was reading the summer before I moved to Houston, because I really needed to know who Jesus was, figure out, like really learn about faith. And I started reading Matthew again, and I told God, like, God, humans only have human experiences. They do not know what you can do. So I don't want to limit what you can do. And if you want me to go to a Starbucks, if you want me to be making people coffee, being a barista or cashier, starting fresh, I can do that. I will do it. And I was like, worst case scenario, I got to get on Section 8. I've never been on Section 8. Worst case scenario, I got to get food stamps. And I mean, I'll be able to get food stamps. I'll be able to get all these benefits that, are provided to women who have a lower income. I was like, I'll have to do what I gotta do. And when I tell you, after I applied to all those jobs, this has been over a year of applying for a lot of jobs and getting an interview here and there, but not really hearing back. When I tell you, within like 2 weeks after applying for all those jobs, I was interviewing for 15 different jobs, ranging from salaries of $12 or $15 an hour to 50K salaries, 70K salaries. I think one job was over 6 figures. It almost seemed as if God said, no. I'm not sending you back to Michigan. That's not where you're supposed to go. And when I tell you, it was just an amazing feeling. It was exhausting because for the whole month of September, I was interviewing for multiple jobs, multiple times. These jobs be having like 3-4 different rounds. I was having multiple rounds of interviews, and long story short, I ended up getting a job at the end of September to start in October. And it was more than I made before. It was literally the perfect job. And I really blame the fact that I surrendered my need for human approval of being afraid to move back home. I blame the fact that instead of letting my mom instill fear, instead of, venting to one of my friends or venting to my friend about it, I went to God and I was just like, I don't think this is what you want me to do. Like, can you guide me? I humbled myself to just like, if I gotta do what I gotta do. And I also was real with myself. The level of discomfort that I was willing to take and to be in order to make it into another state. And it's not to say that I'm just so in love with Houston that I need to be in Houston beyond, but I knew I did not want to go back to Michigan. And that was, for me, something that was extremely important. I feel like the fact that I moved to Houston, or the fact that I was planning on moving to Houston, of April of 2023, and that was the same year that it was approved that associates for like therapists could have a private practice, and that has always been my dream. It just seems so aligned with how I moved, with my apartment approval, with like everything that happened that I told y'all about in my video. I just couldn't see that God would do all of these miracles just to turn around. And also, Lori had gotten into school. I used the 2 paychecks that I had in June to show my income to get her into preschool, and also to get childcare assistance again. So that was already aligned. So I'm just like, you telling me that God worked all of these things out, but he want to send me back to Michigan? It just did not sound right. So I said, if I need to work 2 to 3 jobs in order to make it, then that's what I'm going to have to do. So that's an update on my job. And actually, I ended up like probably like a month after that getting into personal training. I was already on my weight loss journey. So officially I reached about, 100 pounds down. Aside from that, I graduated in October, which was so hard, y'all. Like, to go through that financial struggle and still be interning for 2 different private practices, doing my work for school, that was just an extreme stretch for me. But I just knew, like, this is only the beginning, and I just feel like I'm just now touching the surface. So yeah, that's my update on Houston. I love it so far. I'm still in my same apartment. I renewed my lease for one. My credit is ass, so that's gonna be in my next video. Just like, what are you willing to sacrifice? My credit is ass. I have no savings because I ran through it. I am literally rebuilding, but I've had the opportunity to rebuild with now a better job. It is fully remote, so it's like literally exactly what I wanted. Great team. It is in marketing, but I'm okay with that just because I wanted the privilege to be able to start my private practice, but always like already have a foundation of income coming in to take care of me and my children. Where, a lot of therapists don't have that privilege. They got to go straight to community health, and they have to work for 40, 30K or whatever and be working overtime. I don't have to do that. I want to build my private practice, build my own branding, my own empire when it comes to that. So this is really what I pray for. And I don't know, God just really showed, he did his big one with me. He do not play about me. I told my mama out of my mouth, like, I don't think God want me to move back. I told my dad, I never asked my dad for money. I barely mess with that man. I had to ask him for money. It was a huge, when I say I was so humble, y'all, and he was even like, you gonna have to move back and all this stuff. And I'm just like, we'll see in a couple weeks. This is when I was interviewing, but when other people don't have like that same faith as you, they think you crazy. People are gonna think you're crazy. Like, they're gonna see, okay, you're a single mom, no job, you barely able to pay your rent for the next month, you asking people to borrow money for groceries, they're gonna look at you like you're crazy. Again, this is gonna be in my next video, just about, you know, if you want to move to a different state, you have to be understanding. You have to understand that you're gonna be uncomfortable, whether it's financial, mental, emotional discomfort is really a part of like the process and starting your life over. But anyway, when it comes to my journey, yeah, things have been going very well since getting a job. I am in the midst of starting over. I am in the midst, when I say starting over, I mean like rebuilding my savings. Child, getting my credit back together. I don't think this is oversharing. I do plan on filing bankruptcy because I think last time I was in debt after my divorce, I did work like pretty much the full 6 months to a year to get myself out of debt, and then I got laid off. So I feel like I'm just not going to work that hard and extend so much of my money to pay off debt, just to end up in the same situation. So for me, I'll be filing bankruptcy, and I'm so excited. I'm trying to do it before my 30th birthday. And maybe I'll share that journey with y'all. I don't know. I really want to kind of shift to more motherhood content, as I am gonna be a mom therapist. But yeah, so we're in a process of rebuilding. We are in a process of still, you know, losing weight, and I'm loving my job. I'll be taking my national counseling exam in the beginning of the year. And that is my update for Houston. If y'all have any questions, I'm just trying to think if I missed anything, because I mean, my kids are in school, they're in daycare, they're thriving. Lori is in speech therapy. Her speech has drastically improved, because Katie has like a speech program. I did pickleball lessons. Like, I don't know, like, y'all, life literally just turned around for me in this last quarter of the year. And I have nobody to thank but God, because it was to a point in my journey of being in Houston, probably within the last 6 months, that I was just thankful to breathe, because my credit was shot, savings was gone, I was struggling financially, trying to get more clients, I'm applying for jobs, and all I can do is say, you know what? Thank you, God, that I'm breathing. Thank you, God, that I'm able to walk. Thank you, God, that I'm able to drop my kids off to daycare and go to the gym and work out and work on my health and fitness. Like, thank you, God, that my mom is able to help me with my rent for this month. Or my dad, who I never talked to, is able to help me out of nowhere. He didn't have to do that, you know? So it was like I had to really be thankful and have gratitude throughout my entire experience of this Houston journey. And now I feel like things are like finally looking up for me. Like, just, oh, and then I also start my PhD program next year. So in February. So it's just like everything just really turned around for me. And I'm not going to get emotional or cry, but God is so good. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Drop it in the comments below, and I typically respond to everybody except for people who want to get ignorant or rude or whatever, but it's not really a lot of people. So with that being said, I'll see y'all in the next video. See you.